Few storylines in this league carry the weight that Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese do. What started as a heated college matchup back in 2023 has carried straight into the WNBA. And this season, it got a new wrinkle when Reese signed with Atlanta in the offseason, setting up direct meetings between the two as conference rivals rather than just former college foes. Their first head-to-head of 2026 went to Indiana in a blowout, an 83-71 win on June 4th powered by a huge night from Mitchell, even though Reese put up a solid double-double of 11 points and 10 boards in the loss. This second meeting, played at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, carried a different kind of pressure. Both teams were rolling. Indiana entered the night red-hot at 9-5, riders of a 4-game winning streak that included a 114-point overtime win over Chicago and a 113-point follow-up against Toronto just 2 days later. Clark and Mitchell were each putting up over 20 points a game, and Sophie Cunningham had quietly become one of the league's most lethal role players, knocking down threes at a 43% clip. Atlanta wasn't far behind, sitting at 9-4 with 3 wins in their last 4, including a defensive clinic that held Toronto under 80 points. 2 surging teams, 1 building rivalry, and a building full of energy. This had the makings of a classic, and it delivered. First quarter, 2 teams trading punches. Howard got things going early, missing her first 3-point attempt but hustling for the offensive board and converting a layup off the drive to open the scoring for Atlanta. Indiana answered almost immediately as Hull capitalized on a feed from Clark to even the score. From there, the physicality and tempo picked up fast. Canada drained a 3 off an assist from Reese to put the Dream back in front, then stole the ball away from Clark on the ensuing possession. Reese cashed in on the turnover with a driving reverse layup, assisted by Howard, before Clark fired right back with a finger roll to cut the deficit. After a brief lull where both sides missed a few looks and Reese picked up a foul, Billings scored on a layup set up by Clark. Reese split a pair of free throws to push the Atlanta lead back out, but Clark answered with a triple off a Billings assist to put Indiana ahead. Gray responded for the Dream with a driving score to reclaim the lead, and Boston tied things back up moments later with a layup of her own. A steal by Howard off Clark turned into instant offense in transition, evening the score yet again. The rest of the opening period turned into pure back-and-forth basketball. Cone scored inside off a feed from Canada, Boston's floater pushed Indiana back in front, and Canada answered right away to knot the score once more. Clark drove for another bucket to put the Fever ahead, Cunningham buried a 3 to stretch it, and Pow Pow answered for the Dream to keep things close. Timpson scored off a Mitchell dish, but Atlanta closed the quarter with a strong finishing kick. A Reese turnaround hook plus a free throw with under a minute remaining gave the Dream momentum, only for Mitchell to beat the horn with a deep step-back 3. Indiana carried a slim lead into the second quarter, and the building was already buzzing. Second quarter, Atlanta builds a cushion. Indiana refuses to fold. Atlanta opened the second on a positive note, with Hillman scoring off a Canada assist to extend the Dream's push. Indiana clawed back when Gray picked Johnson's pocket, and Howard finished a transition pull-up 3 to tie the game. But Canada answered right back with a finger roll to put Atlanta ahead again. The tension on the floor was visible. After Reese shoved Clark on a hard foul, Reese responded to the whistle by mocking Clark for what she viewed as an exaggerated reaction, despite Clark having absorbed plenty of contact already that night without much sympathy from the officials. Clark shook it off and answered with a step-back jumper assisted by Boston to tie the score. After a Cunningham foul, Hillman knocked down a 3 for Atlanta, but Boston's free throws trimmed it back before Cunningham buried another triple to even things up again. Howard's driving score put the Dream back on top, and Cunningham countered with a steal and score layup off a Harris assist to put Indiana ahead. Atlanta answered immediately to reclaim the lead. From there, Atlanta started to pull away. Gray's old-fashioned 3-point play, paired with a Canada steal that turned into points, stretched the Dream's cushion further. A Boston 3 cut into it, and free throws from Gray and Boston kept the margin manageable, but another Boston free throw brought Indiana within a single point. Atlanta pushed back through Pow Pow, and another Boston free throw plus a Borlase floater kept the gap tight. Clark's step-back jumper gave Indiana the lead once more, but Gray scored twice in a row to put Atlanta back in front. Borlase's free throw and a Clark triple extended Indiana's answer. Borlase scored again, and after Clark missed a free throw, Canada calmly knocked down 2 from the line to send Atlanta into the locker room with a halftime lead. It had been a fiercely contested first half with neither team able to pull away for long. Third quarter, Atlanta's biggest cushion of the night, Boston, opened the second half the way Indiana needed, slicing the deficit with a driving layup. Gray answered with a steal and score, plus a free throw for Atlanta before Mitchell's floater and a Clark running layup pulled Indiana back within range. Hillman's free throws pushed Atlanta's lead back out, and after a stretch where both teams struggled to find clean looks and turned the ball over, Billings scored on a running layup off a Clark assist. Hillman answered right back with a three to keep Atlanta comfortably ahead. Mitchell's driving layup off Clark's fifth assist of the night cut into the margin again, but Hillman's free throws restored the cushion. Billings chipped away with free throws of her own before Atlanta exploded. Pow connected from deep off a Howard assist, and Howard immediately followed it up with a steal that led directly to a layup, pushing the Dream out to their largest lead of the game. Mitchell answered with a technical free throw, and after Howard split two more free throws to extend the gap further, Boston's cutting layup off Clark's sixth assist trimmed it back down. Reese answered for Atlanta with a cutting layup assisted by Howard to push the lead back out, and Mitchell countered with a three off Clark's seventh assist to cut into it again. Canada scored on a layup, and then Clark calmly knocked down three straight free throws to pull Indiana back within striking distance. The Fever weren't going away. Canada's free throws stretched Atlanta's lead once more before Reese's cutting layup, this one assisted by Hillman, pushed the margin back out. Clark answered with a driving reverse layup plus free throws to cut the deficit to its smallest point of the entire second half, but Hillman's free throws restored Atlanta's cushion. Boston and Reese traded baskets in the final seconds of the period, and Atlanta carried a 9-point lead into the fourth quarter, a lead that would soon be tested in dramatic fashion. Fourth quarter, Indiana's furious rally, Atlanta's composed finish. Reese opened the fourth with a free throw, and Atlanta's defense did its job through several empty Indiana possessions to start the period. But Boston's driving hook shot cut into the cushion, signaling the start of Indiana's comeback bid. Canada's free throws pushed Atlanta's lead back out before a Hillman foul sent Boston to the line, where she trimmed it again. Reese coughed up a turnover, and Boston converted it into a driving layup to cut the gap even further. Indiana was building real momentum now. Another Boston driving layup chipped away at the lead, and although Hillman answered with a three to push Atlanta back out, Mitchell's cutting layup off a Boston assist trimmed it right back down. Timpson's steal set up a Mitchell finger roll, and suddenly Atlanta's once comfortable lead had shrunk to just 5 points. Mitchell wasn't done, her step-back three cut it even further, and after a scramble for a loose rebound, Cunningham finished a reverse layup off a Harris assist to tie the game with just over 5 minutes remaining. The building was rocking. Reese answered for Atlanta with a driving layup to reclaim the lead, but Mitchell tied it right back up with a driving floater assisted by Cunningham. Gray's free throws and a Canada steal and score pushed Atlanta back in front, and from that point on, Indiana mounted its final surge. Timpson's free throws cut into the gap once more, but Howard answered with two straight driving scores to push Atlanta's lead back out in the closing minutes. In the end, Indiana's rally came up just short. Every time the Fever clawed back within striking distance, the Dream had an answer ready, and Atlanta closed out the final possessions to seal the win. The final score read Atlanta Dream 108, Indiana Fever 101, a result that saw the Dream survive a furious Indiana comeback that erased a 17-point deficit all the way down to a tie game with 5 minutes to play, before Atlanta's poise down the stretch put the game away and snapped Indiana's 4-game winning streak. The numbers and the storylines, all 5 Atlanta starters finished in double figures, a remarkable show of balanced scoring that Indiana simply had no answer for on a possession-by-possession basis. Howard was outstanding late, scoring repeatedly in the fourth quarter to help fend off the Fever's push. Gray was a major factor during Atlanta's third quarter surge, when the Dream built their biggest lead of the night. Reese played with her usual physicality and opportunism throughout, and fittingly sealed the win at the free throw line in the closing seconds. For Indiana, Clark, Mitchell, and Boston all carried heavy loads during the comeback attempt. Mitchell in particular was sensational down the stretch, scoring in bunches during the fourth quarter to help drag Indiana back from a 17-point deficit into a tie game. Boston was steady and physical all night long, and Clark controlled the tempo for long stretches, finishing with 7 assists on the night. But Atlanta's depth and balanced scoring attack proved to be too much to overcome in the final 5 minutes. This marked round 2 of the season series between Clark and Reese, and with this result, the head-to-head record now sits even. Indiana took the first meeting in dominant fashion, and Atlanta has now answered in equally emphatic style. There's still at least one more meeting on the calendar, with the two teams set to face off again in Atlanta on Saturday. With the loss, Indiana drops to 9-6 on the season, while Atlanta improves to 10-4 and continues to push toward the top of the Eastern Conference standings. With both teams playing meaningful basketball into the summer, the race for the Commissioner's Cup just got a lot more interesting heading into the rematch.